Hi everyone, how are you going today? If you're joining me on the replay, you can comment the word replay for a chance to win prizes. And if you're here live, you'll see the little live button up in the corner. And I'm Sharon Hankins from the blog I Restore Stuff, this way, where you can find upcycle tips, home decor, recycling, upcycling, and refinishing furniture and things, which I love to do. So today, hi Brenda, how are you going? Today we are going to be doing a porch leaner sign. Let me just see, I was going to refresh my page here, so we've made sure that we're on the right page for our live. You can see your comments. Hi Tracy, Peggy's here. All right, exciting day today. Oh, nope, Olive is now, she's always in trouble. Here we go. Okay, so I've got a porch leaner sign idea from the new fall stencils. Anyone got their fall bundle yet? Have you ordered the fall bundle, or did you order the just singly some of the things? If anyone got a hold of the Simply Blessed porch leaner sign, I'll be doing that one today. Leave it, good, leave it. Now she's going to be. So this is Simply Blessed. And it is for a 5-foot porch leaner. It does have 5 pieces in the set. I don't think it says on here, maybe it says on yours, 5-foot leaner. I'm just going to give her a little treat. Keep her occupied for a minute. There we go. And so we're going to be staining it. Now, usually I would stain this in Fusion Mineral Paints, or like create a paint stain wash. Oh yes, Dominica ordered the Halloween bundle. Lisa, you just got mine. She said, just got mine tonight. That's amazing. Dominica, I hope you're feeling better. Oh, thank you so much. I am feeling a lot better. Still just a little bit of, symptoms there, but, it's just that residual cough or whatever every now and then. So sometimes I create a paint wash, which you do using like a dark color and then add a little bit of water and it washes onto the surface to create a nice stain. Here's my leaner, my board. Now I just picked this up, not looking at the size or anything like that, from a local hardware store, and it actually is only 4-foot board, not 5-foot. But you know me, I like to try and fit things onto boards that I have, and so I'm going to be trying to try and squeeze this 5-foot board stencil onto a 4-foot board. Okay, that's what we'll be doing today. So it has Simply Blessed, so we've got the Simply at the top. I'm not sure if I'm going to fit all of the leaves or anything on it, but we'll just kind of lay it out there and see how we go. But I am going to stain it in Fusion's Stain and Finishing Oil. So if you haven't tried that before, it's just one of I love their stain and finishing oils. They're great for staining a piece of furniture in a nice wood grain finish. So you see the blonde pine, this is just pine that I have here. Well, I've stained, that was blonde, and I've stained it in one of their new stain and finishing oil colors is walnut. And so that's really beautiful. I do have a link there and a code that you can use at Fusion. You can use my I Restore Stuff code, both at Essential Stencil here and save 10%, or at the Fusion link that I've got in the description or the pinned comment there. Yes, Dominica, they've got 4 new stain colors. So there's walnut, taupe, light oak, and heartwood are the 4 new ones. So this walnut one, if you're familiar with cappuccino, it's a really dark chocolatey stain. I love walnut. It's sort of an in-between. Now I did some experimenting before going live this morning because I thought I really want to make sure that I can stencil over the top of an oil-based stain and finishing oil. Because it is an oil-based, you kind of hesitate thinking because oil and water-based kind of resist each other. I wanted to make sure that I could still use the stain and finishing oil to stain my board and also stencil on top. So I did a little experimental piece, and I've added Don't Ruffle My Feathers stencil on top using water-based paints, which is the Fusion Mineral Paint. So you can But I did make sure, and I dried and dried and dried with my hairdryer, make sure that's quite dry before you go over the top and finish that off. And then to seal it, you could put the natural, which is the clear stain and finishing oil on top. But it really does give a lovely smooth finish. Now, if you were doing this for a piece of furniture or something, I do recommend often conditioning your wood, and that's another, oh, someone's just asked, does the stain and finishing oil smell? It's actually got a nice natural odor to it, and it's not potent at all, like some of the stains that you would get that have got a lot of the chemicals and things in it. So it is quite a pleasant odor, if I can say so myself. I do it indoors without any effect at all, whereas some of the stains have got that really potent chemical smell, and it's really not good for doing indoors. So we are going to be staining this board first. So let's point you all down, point the camera down, and see if I can get that in the shot. I've got a bit of a shadow on there, but that's all right. Put my board out the way. I'll show you how I'm going to lay that out in just a minute, but we'll get on with staining it. Now, I do recommend, if you're using a stain, to wear a glove, even if it's just on the hand that you're going to be using the cloth with. So I've just got a lint-free cloth here, or you can use an applicator pad, one or the other. Now, I have stirred this previously, but you do want to get in there with a stir stick and stir around to make sure all of the ingredients are mixed in really well together. And this is Fusion's Stain and Finishing Oil in the colour Walnut, which is one of their brand new stain colours. So obviously it looks so much darker there, but we're going to just move along the grain. So if you're doing, say this is a tabletop or a piece of furniture, you would, I'm going to see if I can get down to the bottom of this, making sure it's still in the camera shot. I'm going to actually do the edges. Maybe I'll do a side and the edges. You want to go along the grain of your wood. And so I'm just wiping this on. Another method of applying it is by using a brush, brushing it on and then wiping off the excess. But I find that just wiping it on with a cloth actually saves you some of the, it saves excess wastage, I believe. So if I've got that on the cloth, and we want a nice smooth finish, and if you do want, now here's where I was talking about before, I sometimes go off my train of thought and talk about other things, but just making sure I've got that all in the shot there. I was talking about conditioning your wood before you stain it. So I haven't done that with this piece of wood, and I'll show you if it does this thing that raw wood can often do, especially pines and things like that. There'll be little bits of grain that are more open than others, and the stain catches really well in those bits of open grain, and it can cause an uneven, patchy finish. So if you want a nice, even finish, there is such a thing called wood conditioner, or you can simply use the clear version of this stain and finishing oil, which is it's called natural, so it's just clear varnish almost, but it's a finishing oil. And you can just dilute that down using mineral spirits a little bit, and then apply that first. Now I'm seeing a little bit of the patchiness that I'm talking about just here. Can you see? I'm not sure if you can see that. There's lighter areas, darker areas. So it can get a little bit patchy if you don't use wood conditioner or condition the surface first. But of course, me being the impatient person that I am, thought I wouldn't worry about that. But if you're doing this on a nice piece of furniture or a board to sell, which I don't know, it might just turn out and no one will even think about the patchiness. What do you think? Does it look too patchy, or does it look okay? But that's just one warning when you're using stains or any kind of, even the washes, when you're using a paint wash, it can do that little bit of patchiness, and you just don't want that looking too patchy. See what I mean? Let me see if I can see your... Yes, Kathleen says, great tip. I wondered why it would get patchy. Yes, so it's called wood, conditioning your wood first. And all that does, and if you do use the natural sealer and dilute it down just a little bit, and you wipe that on. It sort of soaks into the grain and evens out the grain on the wood, so that that next coat of your actual stain and finishing oil with the colour in it, it will have evened out all of those wood grains. So here's the original colour right on the back here, and here's that lovely walnut colour. Now I will try just and get the ends, so sorry you may not see this in the camera shot. I'll get the other end for you. The end grain always will look a lot darker than, oops, it's got a little bit of lint on my cloth, has gone onto the wood. If you do want it a little bit darker than what it's turned out to be, then you can always add a second coat once that's dried. Just going to see if I can get this up this end so you can see the wood grain at the end. And that is a little bit rough, and so that may not, it's a little bit tricky to get. I should have sanded that off. Let's just call that the bottom of the board and no one's going to see it, right? Okay. So that gives you an idea how we can use the stain and finishing oil. Now I do have a second sign that we can be doing while this stain is drying. And I've pre-stained this one with the same walnut colour. On the other side it was a different, I just used a wash on this side, and I can't even remember the wash colour. But what I want to do now is just use whatever I've got left on this cloth here and just go over this side. Now it is going to probably turn out a slightly different colour than the back side, because I already put some kind of wash on here, so it could just look a little different. I am going to get a little bit more on the cloth. There we go. So this will probably be a bit darker than the other side where I've stained it. And this is going to be a big, nice big chunky stenciled sign that you can put on a mantle so it can stand. It's got a nice thick edge, and I've already stained the edges. But we can go over that with a second coat, and if we wanted to, make it a little darker. That side definitely looks a bit darker, doesn't it? So see how it depends what colour you've got underneath, because I feel like there was some kind of wash under there. It wasn't the blonde pine. So that's looking slightly darker than this side that had just the blonde pine on it. So now I want to make sure that's completely dry, and I've got another stencil for that idea. Remove that. And I will get my hairdryer onto that. Just a minute. Now don't forget, use my code for the stencils, and you can also use that same code at the usual link that I've got there in the pinned comment and in the description of the live. Oh, Janet, you're repainting your cardinal your mum made for you. She passed this past July. I'm so sorry. Oh, what a beautiful thought to just repaint that. I love it when you guys tell me what you're working on as you watch, because a lot of you are crafting, doing the DIY projects. So the stain and finishing oil also dries with heat or with, you know, air. As it dries out, it will dry out within a few hours. It might touch dry, but I definitely leave it, you know, if I'm just painting furniture or staining a piece of furniture or tabletop or something, I'll let it dry maybe overnight before I go on and put a second coat, or before I do any of the stenciling idea on it. Yeah, so this, Kathy says she likes the stain of the wood. You're working on a new scarecrow stencil. Oh, how fun. Charlotte's answering someone's question on where to find wood boards like this, probably the local Home Depot, Lowe's, or your local lumberyard. Yeah, I got this one from our local hardware store. And they have a lumber section. Some of it is already cut up like this. I actually bought this piece of wood because it's so long. I thought I'd cut it in half and create two signs out of it. But when I saw the porch liner, I thought, you know what, I could probably squeeze that down to fit on it. So if you've just joined me now, we're going to be doing this Simply Blessed porch liner sign from the new fall collection. And let me just put that aside and I'll dry this one the same way. And it's actually made for a 5-foot board, but I'm going to be using it on a 4-foot board today because that's how it works. Then it says interesting stain. Yes, it's actually a stain and a finishing oil all in one. So it seals and it stains at the same time. I'm using little bits of cloth from my cloth that I stained with. It's not exactly free, I just used a Chuck's cloth. Making sure that's nice and dry. And I did do a little experiment to make sure that I could stencil over the top of this because it's an oil-based stain and finishing oil. I wasn't sure if it would stencil properly on top, but I make sure it's dry first. And just like the water-based stains, they do dry out with a bit of heat. And normally I would just do that over time, but obviously on a live, I need to make sure that it's dry. So I'm just using a hairdryer to do that. What brand was the stain? It is Fusion's Stain and Finishing Oils, and they come in a range of, there was 6, now there's another 4. So now this is one of the new ones. Walnut is the color. And I do have a link for the Fusion mineral paint in the description or in that pinned comment that Essential Stencil has popped there at the top of your comment feed. You'll see that. And you can use my code IRestoreStuff and get 10% off at both Fusion and at the Essential Stencil site. So that's amazing. Let me just work on this one first before we do our Simply Blessed board. I wanted to work with this stencil, and I've also got the link for this one in there. This is again from the fall collection. It's pumpkins and grapevines. So we've got 2 there. We've got the pumpkins and the grapevines. So aren't they just gorgeous? I've got the grapevines, so we could make, a 2-sided, we could do grapevines across. Obviously it's not going to fit the full length of this because there's the start and it goes way over the edge, but you could just use it as a bit of a background and then add words to it. I'm just going to do the pumpkins for right now, and we can choose to do just some of the pumpkins. Hang on, we've got ourselves a little bit moving across here so that we're in line with the camera. Okay, so I'm going to leave off these 2 pumpkins from the end, and just, let's see if I'll maybe tape off these pumpkins here. And is that centered? We could even just use that as tape markings. And I will add a bit of tape to this end to keep it still. Feeling like I've got that stain and finishing oil on my fingers. Well, I did try it out, so we'll see how that works. I'm just going to tear a little bit of the ends of this tape so that it turns this corner here. I'll show you what I mean. Oop. We want it to just go around the pumpkin. Oop. Tear it a little bit more. So now I've got that in place. We can then just fit the 3 pumpkins on and leave these 2 off to make it all centered on the board. Or you could just run them right across and it could be like a half finished off the edge kind of a pumpkin. Just want to hit that one more time because I can feel a little bit of that oil. So just make sure it's really, really dry and it still will work. So the stain is Fusion Stain Finishing Oil in the colour Walnut. Nice warm colour. The grapevine stencil does look gorgeous. I feel like you can put that on the other side. I'm just going to use Casement, which is a nice bright white. And we've got some on my hands. Now I did use a little brush earlier, so still got it on my hands. The white paint was around the lid of the brush, so... Hello, Olive. Olive, hey. What's the problem? So adding a bit to the brush. I don't know if you can see me here. Why don't I sit down? Okay, Sharon, relax. Excuse me. Yes, Kathleen, was it saying, reminds me of my sewing days, putting slits to the curve. Yes, around here, so that you can add it to the, without, you know, it'll bend around a little bit more then. Okay, so I'm using my white and just, might have a little bit too much on the brush. I didn't offload enough, so I'm just going to do some wiggling. And also because I'm using a smaller brush, only because I used it for a small stencil before, but you could use a much larger brush here and go on the sides of these pumpkins. And it's going to, I love that, just white on wood. There's something about that, isn't there? Leaves a nice finish. I might leave that sort of misty and cloudy in the middle and just concentrate on those edges. Again with our leaves, stalks, nice white background. Now you could go over these pumpkins after you've done the white with some colour. But really, I do like this idea. Oh, Maggie, good point. Maggie says the very thin bridges scare me. So yeah, just be very gentle around those bridges. I'm going to go a little bit darker here because it's the edge of both of the pumpkins. And what I do is, see how I'm coming in from the edges and go along the bridges. Instead of round and round swirling, just a little bit of a swirl along the edges and just wriggle your brush and not so much making sure there's no movement on the bridges themselves. Just going to do a nice light center of this pumpkin. Sort of creating a little bit of shading, you know, dark and light, a little bit of texture it feels like. So again, this is the edge of one pumpkin, so I'm going more around the edges and the bases and then coming in, adding a bit more. Making those leaves nice and bright and the stalk and the edges. And then I'll come in with a little bit less on those center pieces of the pumpkin. So we still want some in there. But see how you can, I don't know if you can see that, you can see the grain of the wood coming through the white on that pumpkin here. And again, when you're doing the bridges, you can just go a little bit more along the bridges rather than round and round. Yes, white does go with everything, doesn't it? And I'll just go a little bit more on this one, on those edges, filling it in a bit more. But again, around those edges. Hey, Olive, quiet, quiet. Good boy. Lie down. Good girl. Okay, so now I've stopped here. Oh dear, I did go over the edge of this. Wasn't thinking we were just going across all of the pumpkins, but let's see. Over here I need a little bit more. And that's nicely soaked in. We do have a little bit of a, hey, what's wrong? She's barking at me. All right, so I did go over, and I can probably, maybe I can just scratch this off, sand that bit off. So there's a little error there. I'll try and scratch that off while it's a bit wet. Hopefully the stain will move from me, but that's, yeah, I'm happy with that. It's kind of scratched off a bit. There we go. How cool is that? Just leaves a nice textured look. And white on wood, you just can't go past it, right? And again, on the other side, you could do these grapevines. That would be beautiful, just going right across there. And then, you know, just let them flow off the edge. Or you could move the grapes. So you've got your grapes here and a little bit of leaves going off the edge. You could add a word over the top of that too. So if I have time, I might do that at the end. But there you go. So that is the Pumpkins and Grapevines stencil set. Did anyone get that in their bundle or singly? Either you got the bundle or you got it singly. Don't forget to use my code I Restore Stuff and you can grab a hold of that for 10% off. All right, so here's our pumpkin stencil. Put that aside. Now we've got our beautiful Porch Lena board, and this has 5 pieces to this set. So let's see. Maybe you didn't get that one. Yeah, the stencils look great. Nancy got it singly. It is a classy set of stencils, isn't it? Just the 2, and there's 3. Quite nice. Okay, so here's where my experimenting comes in, and I think I'll try and lift this up taller and just point that down a bit like that. See if we can fit more board in. The higher I go, I should be able to fit a little bit more of the board in. But we'll start at the top. Now, I sort of laid this out earlier, and I didn't quite fit all of the stencils in without squishing them up a little bit, okay? So we've got, let me get them all out. So there's a little flourish, shall we call it, down the bottom too. Make sure you have your letters the right way around. That would have been a disaster. D for disaster. That would go at the bottom. We've got the E, then the B-L-E-S-S-E-D. Now you'll notice on mine that the L was not quite finished the same way as all the other letters, but never fear, because yours, if you've got yours, you will have received it correctly. If you do have yours, please just check that for me to make sure that you do have your L is correct and it looks the same as the other letters with the shadow or that 3D marking right here. Mine just is missing that second thing here, but that was just because it was sent out just to us ambassadors first before they manufactured everybody. So yours will be just fine. Let me see for anybody. I'm just looking in comments to see if anybody received this Porch Lena. Okay, so see how it's not quite totally going to fit, but I should be able to squish all these letters up on my 4-foot board to make them. And if I join that a little bit closer, let's see how we go. I'm just not sure that I'll fit the simply up the top. Excuse me. So what I might have to do is, I've got the leaves coming off also. So if you do want to do this board, let me see, where's my tape measure? You will need your board to be 9 inches across and not 7 inches like mine. So we'll put this one here, have the leaves kind of coming off, and that's okay because we want our B and our letters to be centered right here. So we'll start there and see if I am correct in assuming that this is all going to fit. I did sort of check it earlier. Now I'm going to bring these letters together. I could get my tape measure and make sure that they're all the same distance apart. I'm just going to use my Australian centimetres to check this. So if that was there, and if I made this 2 centimetres apart, it's around about there. So then that would come up to here. See what I'm doing here? Just kind of spacing it out so that it's, so that it's going to be all together. Now again, down here, 2 centimetres apart would be bringing this up to here. Then I do this one and then that one. And hopefully it'll all work out, guys. Okay, so maybe I'm just going to go ahead and start and see how we go. And with that L, I'll show you how I'll fix mine, but yours should be perfect. Is your S's upside down, Diana? Thank you for mentioning that. Let's have a look. No, I think they're correct, because what I did was I looked at this little line that comes in here and it's on the right side. So if it was upside down, it would be on the right side, and these are all on the left side. So that shadow kind of look needs to be on this side, unless you think that they're upside down like this. Is that correct? I think if it was 3 and 3, they're actually the same width apart, top and bottom. So if it was narrow one side, I would put the narrow side to the top, but I think that's correct now. Correct me if I'm wrong before I do it. Cherry says, that's another one I need. Yeah, it's available right now on the site. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just move this down a little bit so we can see, and we'll work on this as we go. Again, just a beautiful white on wood. Let me sit down. Now, I'm not going to fit simply on, but let's see if I could do something with that in the end to maybe try and make that fit. I'm just going to do this super quickly. And again, I probably could be using a larger brush than this one. Now we've stained the background with Fusion Mineral Paints Stain and Finishing Oil in the colour Walnut, and just make sure that your stain and finishing oil is well and truly dried before you add your stencil on with a water-based paint, because if you do it too soon, the oil could resist the water base. Otherwise, use a wash, which I've done lots of times using one of Fusion's darker wood colours, and it turns out great. Yes, Donna says, I check the letters in the pictures on the envelopes to make sure that they're correct. That's what you should do. Here she goes again. Okay, offloading my brush. Do you have any new people to stenciling today? I'd love to know if you're brand new to stenciling. Let us know in the comments. Okay, here's another bridge that we just need to be careful of. So we're going long ways on the bridge again. And just hold your finger down on this B. Make sure we get... Yes, the white is casement, Cassie. So casement is the colour that I'm using for the white. It's one of Fusion's brightest whites. And so it's great for using if you want just that nice, sharp, bright white, which goes lovely on the wood. But any of their whites, really. Some of the darker whites, the ones with, you know, like a little bit of a chalk or taupe undertone, have really great coverage. So if you are looking for something that's a little bit different and a little bit off-white, you can use that. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of stripage here. All right, now, yes, Sandy said also L is just plain, no built-in shadow. But Sandy, can you check if anyone received the actual Porch liner themselves, you should have the correct version of the L, okay? Mine was a pre-release because I'm an ambassador for Essential Stencil, and so we caught that error, and in manufacture I have been told that they have corrected that. So if anybody, I'm still looking for comments, did anybody get this Porch liner? And can you please check yours and let me know? Oh, it's okay. I don't mind. This is a trial set, so I don't mind if mine's like this. I can work with it. And I'll show you how I'll work with it, okay? So what I'm thinking is I could just get the B. See how the B is exactly like the L? And then we just extend that. So we could do that. Or I can add that little bit in the end. So let's have a look. Now I'm going to move this up closer. Olive, settle down. Settle. And I'm just going to do my little measuring tape. I think it was 2 centimeters. I may even go a little bit tighter than that. Hey, quiet. Quiet. Good quiet. A little bit tighter than 2 centimeters. And we'll add our tape here. Olive, don't bark at me. She just so demands the attention when I'm doing this. So I want to probably go with the L, and then I'll add that little bit down here that's missing. But again, I'll just keep repeating this. Yours should be perfect. Yours should be fixed, because this is something that they sent out to us ambassadors as a trial. And as we were testing it, we realized, hey, this L is missing its little friend and companion down the side here, the extra little bit. So they said, yep, we'll catch that in the manufacturing and everyone will get the correct version. So please let me know if you have this set. I'd love to know. I'm not always catching all the comments, so someone may have already commented, but please let me know. If you ordered the bundle, you should have this set in there. Now let's have a look at it. And again, the E will just be the same as well. So what I might do is I'll grab the E and just go over it like this. That's all that's missing, is that bit there. So I'm happy to work with that, but I want you guys to have the right one. Yes, Gloria said they did fix it. Yes, see? So there you go, I fixed mine. Mine's fixed now. Now, oops, excuse me. Just trying to take my stencils off. BLE, oh, E. Okay, so we'll move this E to right about here. See how easy that fix was? Yes, Donna says, glad you're doing it on a 4-foot board. Is it really a lot more expensive to get the 5-foot boards? That's interesting. That's interesting. Why should it just be so much more for just an extra foot, hey? Olive, quiet, quiet. Let me see if I've got something I can give to her to keep her occupied for a little bit. I think I've got my E in the right place, and I can move my board up a little. Excuse me for coughing. Oh my goodness. It catches my breath sometimes and I can't help it. Oh, that's so annoying. All right. And our E going down now. So you could do a second coat on this if you wanted more coverage from that white. And I'm just using a smaller brush only because I had already used it before and I don't want to clean an extra brush, but you could definitely use a larger brush than what I'm using here. Again, we've got this little bridge right here that can be a little bit wriggly, so you might want to grab your brush and just pounce on that a little bit rather than brushing too strongly and going up and down like so. So see how I'm holding my finger right here and just holding it in place, making sure that bridge isn't going anywhere. And just sort of moving along the letters there. And if you move along, you're not going to get much any movement really. Come down here. And I had too much on my brush right there. Can you see that? We'll just blend it all down. A little bit patchy, but hey, I kind of like this rustic look. I feel like I'm often saying that. So we've done BLE. Let's do our S's. And I'm remembering to try and move them a lot closer to each other. Let's do a little bit less. Okay. I think that's correct. And, oh, I don't know. I'm hoping I'm not going sort of, you know, down the board this way. So I'm trying my best to keep them a little more centered. And just remind me, I don't want to go, I want to bring this S closer, okay? So here we go. And we've got that little leaf off the board at each end, and it really didn't matter that much. But if you were doing this and you want a nice edge on your leaves, definitely I would, I'm just going to tad closer. If you wanted more width to your board, you grab, I think it was, what did we measure? 9 inches instead of, mine is 7. Okay. The space between those two S's. Yes, so that's what I'm going to be moving. So as each of the ones that's joined up, like I did with the L and the E, I moved the whole stencil a little bit closer for that second one. So I'll try not to forget to move my stencil a bit closer. So this is giving you an idea of when you've got, again, another little bridge here. When you've got a stencil that's for a certain length of a board, just try it. See, you might be able to shift yours a little bit closer. Might be able to shift it around a bit. Olive, quiet. Oh, there's nothing there, honestly. I think she's just wanting attention. Thank you, Dorothy, so much for sprinkling it. Sprinkling it live just means you've hit that little share button down there, shared it around Facebook land so that others can see. Okay, we've got our first S. Now, remember, I'm moving this S a little bit closer. So we want to move it, and I measure this distance in here, so it's just about the same. Okay, so it's around about there, and this kind of moves it all a bit closer so we can fit a 5-foot stencil on a 4-foot board. That's the aim of today. You could even use the same S, you know, instead of, you know, creating more S's to wash, but I'll just go with the stencil, go with the flow. And if you missed it earlier, we've used the background, a colour called Walnut. It's a new stain colour in Fusion's Stain and Finishing Oil range. Olive, quiet. I don't know what she hears out there today. I think it's the ice cream with this dinging bell from a distance. Olive, quiet. Olive, quiet. Okay, there's our S. I think that's looking good. Again, we've got a little bit of rustic looking going on here. Take these 2 tapes, just use them for the next bit. Now, I've got the spelling all correct, haven't I? I've got the S's on the right, correct side. We're going great. And I think this will work perfectly. So we've got the E, then we'll have the D a little bit closer there, and then we've still got room for all those leaves at the bottom. Probably could have spaced it out a little bit more exact. Oops. Making sure I'm getting it in the right place. Oh, my tape is kind of moving because this is an oil-based stain. It's still feeling a little bit of that oil on there. So like I said, if you are using the stain and finishing oil, I'd leave them about a day. Make sure they're completely, really, truly, well and truly dried before you... Oh, Cassie, you used your Fusion casement to paint your kitchen cabinets. Yes, Fusion's beautiful on kitchen cabinets. Like if you've got some of the wood grain cabinets or, you know, and you're just tired of that look or that golden look of the wood, you can use the Fusion paint to paint your cabinets for sure, kitchen cabinets. There's some great tips on the Fusion site for painting cabinets. And definitely, if you want to use the Fusion and you want to 10% off, use my code IRestoreStuff at the Fusion link that I've got up there in the description of the live or in our pinned comment. And yeah, kitchen cabinets look great. Not just the white, but also other colours. I've seen beautiful vintage greenish colours in their eucalyptus or their bellwood colours. Beautiful. All right, we're nearly finished, guys. We've got the E. let's do our D. And it doesn't matter if I haven't got the Simply up the top there. I probably could have just fit it somehow because these leaves are fitting quite nicely. So let's see. See if we've got this in the right place. Nearly. And then we've got those leaves down the bottom. So it's all working, all fitting. Oops, a little bit too much on the brush. Let's just patch that out there and we'll patch it all together. Okay. I'm sort of doing a little bit more pouncing. If I've got too much on my brush, I pounce it rather than swirl it. But also going along those bridges there, we want to be totally careful how we're doing that. Okay, and then let's see, I think the leaves are fine right where they are. Might just have a little look at where you can see. There we go. Just going to shift that slightly across so I can fit the stem of this leaf a little bit more into the design, into the stencil. And we'll just swirl this away again for another beautiful rustic look. And we'll see if we can fit the word Simply at the top, or we may just leave it as blessed. What do you think? I'm thinking we could either put the word Simply, here it is, because I missed that just because I was not sure of how it was all going to fit on the board. We could add it somewhere, like down the side or something, I'll see, or across the top of the leaves. Might fit like that. What are your thoughts? Or I could add a bit of a shadow under it and then add it on. Got any thoughts about that? Let me know in the comments. Or we could just leave it off and just have the sign blessed. Imagine that on your front porch. This house is blessed. On the side, people are thinking on the side. Let's see. Okay, we've got our letters all done there. Let's have a look at the word Simply and see where we can fit it. So there we go. I'll show you all at the end. We've got the word Simply. Let's see if it fits right here, possibly. Might look a little odd. I don't know. Simply blessed, just coming up there, or we could add it. Oh look, it doesn't even fit at the top. It's got slightly off the edge there. What are you thinking? So with the Fusion Mineral Paint, you only have to do one coat. Sherry, you can do as many coats as you like. I'll show you what this looks like just with one coat, and you can see that it's probably, you know, you could do an extra coat if you want a really nice solid colour, but I do like that kind of shabby vintage look. It's almost like it's sanded a little bit. Let's have a look. Let's add the word Simply right about here. I'm just going to add it. We've got the the P coming down there. This Y will cross and the L will go over the top, but I don't know. Does that matter? What do you think? It looks great the way it is, Cindy says. Looks good without it. It looks great the way it is. Or do we add it in? Most people are saying, I think, that it looks great the way it is without the Simply down the side. Anyone thinking? We might leave it then. All right, let's leave it, the general consensus. But you can see how if you did that on another board, you would put your Simply here, or if you obviously did a 5-foot board, which it was made for, it would fit perfectly if you just put this at the end and kept following and joining all the letters. So if you were joining the letters together, you could just butt them right up against each other like this, and that distance is the same as this distance here in between the double letters, so your single letters or the ones at the end, they just join exactly the right spacing in between all of them. So I know I put them around the wrong way, but you could just put Simply Blessed all the way down. But I think I will leave it just like that. So let's see. I just want to quickly do, because I've got 10 minutes left, let's just see what that grapevine looks like across the back of this one. Now we did pumpkins earlier, so you see my pumpkins here. Let's just quickly do the grapevines on the other side, because I want to just see what they look like, and I haven't used these yet. And I'm just going to make sure that there's grapes here, here, and here. There's 3. So instead of going like this way, it'll flow off the end. And I actually don't need the tape. I'm just going to ring it. And we'll do that same sort of look with that rustic feeling going on. I'm just going to hold on to this real tight. Hang tight, everybody. Grapes going down. And again, this is the colour Walnut from the Stain and Finishing Oil range in Fusion Mineral Paint. And you can use my code iRestoreStuff and get 10% off at Fusion at the link that's right there in the description of the live or in the pinned comment. And with the beautiful stencils, as always, use my code iRestoreStuff at the links there and get 10% off Essential Stencils. Has anyone also, the Stencil of the Month Club, did you see that I have collaborated there and made a advent calendar, and I believe that it might still be, it's still on the site, so I'm guessing you can still join and grab a hold of that advent calendar. So if you're not in the Stencil of the Month Club, that's what you'll be getting if you join now. And it was so much fun to collaborate with those advent calendar ideas. And you'll see countdowns to Christmas, you'll see all of the different Christmas icons, and that's at stencilofthemonthclub.com. So don't forget to sign up there if you wanted a little extra for your crafting and to get ready for Christmas. That's a good one to get ready for. Oops. My lid nearly fell off the table. How are we going? And we see this edge over here. Look at the grapes. And when I do this swirling method, I can do that and not get bleeding underneath or fuzzy edges because I've offloaded onto my cardboard as much paint as I can to just make just enough. Now, you know, some people are like, how can you do that so quick? It's because I've practiced, but also because I'm getting a sense of how much I need on the brush, okay? So practice on a piece of cardboard, you know, get a piece of you know, just a sample board of wood if you want to, and just practice until you can get it so that you're not getting bleeding underneath or fuzzy edges. So there you go, that's how the grape looks. Isn't that gorgeous? So you could set that on a table. It's got a nice thick edge. So I just cut up some chunky pieces of wood. This is 1.5 inches across, and it is 12 inches long. But if you wanted the full, I would get 16-inch board. If you had a 16-inch board, it would fit the entire, you know, all the pumpkins. You wouldn't have to cut it short at 3. It would fit all the pumpkins and all the grapes. So we have just done just wood and white today. That's a bit, you know, it might, to some might seem a bit boring, but to me it's just a nice, simple, classic look. So guys, we are finished for today, and I am going to look for some winners. Don't forget to use my code iRestoreStuff at either stencilofthemonthclub.com or at essentialstencil.com. And let's see if I can hold up my blessed. There we go. It fits right. It fits all in. There we go. So let me know if you see the winners. Let me know that, and we'll congratulate you. The grapes would be pretty border on anything. Absolutely. In fact, I was going to say you could use the grapes as a border at the top of your blessed sign and at the bottom. You could use the pumpkins across the bottom or at the top. You know, you could use all sorts of things for those. Oh, let's see. Can you fit it in? If I lean it back like this, I can hold it on the table. And here's the other one we did. So we've done the Grapevine, and this is all just using plain pine and Fusion Stain and Finishing Oil in the colour Walnut as a gorgeous background. I really do like those rustic potatoes with the bit of opaqueness, I think you'd call it, in the middle, just kind of give it that rustic look. So our winners today, we have Rhonda Dalton, Vicky Ollinger, and Linda Payne. Congratulations, you guys have won yourselves $20 gift vouchers for Essential Stencil. You might want to get some of these stencils that you've seen today, or you could use that to purchase transfers, anything you like. So email the email that they've sent you, and I don't think we're tagged today, but Rhonda, Vicky, and Linda, please email support@essentialstencil.com and let them know that you were a winner on Sharon Hankins Live today, and they'll send you out $20 gift vouchers. So that's amazing. Here's what we did today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I won't see you next week. We are going on family vacation to the Sunshine Coast, which is here in Queensland, so hopefully it'll be sunny and beachy. But if you follow my socials at I Restore Stuff, I maybe put some things up on the socials, but you'll have a fill-in next week. Someone will be filling in for me, and then I'll see you the following week. So bye everyone. See ya.